minds to keep right.
Hey friends, it's Wednesday, August 3, 2021. This is Prepare to Go There, the most overlooked and underrated coaching conversation on the internet. And that's my opinion, but it's because I'm convinced that your future, my future, the future deserves our focus today. I mean, the future's not going to pioneer itself. So what are we doing today that we can put in motion and that can ripple out far and wide? This has been so much fun. We are on round 32, if you can believe it. I think we're gonna blink and our 50th episode is gonna be here. And it's been a lot of fun. Thank you. I really appreciate everyone who has been checking into this coaching journey, even if you've been doing it just out of support or you're really on the journey. I know that it's been valuable for me and valuable for you as well. And so let me just get into the why, and then we can get into this awesome topic today. But if you're new here for the first time, my name is Peter, and welcome to the Future Frontier, where we are putting in the work day by day. We are committed to do that necessary yet unnoticed preparation, so that way the things we are thinking and talking about actually can happen. And we're not trying to predict the future, but we have to prepare for the future because we actually have a hope-filled outlook that the future can be better. And we've got to figure out how to get there and how to get other people there. And I think this conversation has really lit a fire under a lot of leaders because it deals with a fault line in the leadership space. And it's this: most people don't know how to lead others into a better future because they don't know how to lead themselves there first. And there's no, blame or shame attached to this, but the reality is that leaders love the public side, the visionary side, the quote executive side of what they do, but you have to have the right foundation. You have to have the right motive. You have to have the right root structure in order to grow strong and branch out and have fruit for the future. So what does that look like for us? It's, can you lead yourself? Like, if you are not living out proof of concept, then why should anyone trust you and follow you wherever you say you're going? And that's what this is all about. Prepare to Go There is a call to action for friends and leaders alike who want to focus practically on the future versus just fantasizing and escaping. We're actually committed to get into that better future. We're actually committed to work on that process day by day. And so we're going to focus on the future practically, but we're also going to figure out how to better lead ourselves there tactically day by day. And so it's a both and approach. It's being focused on the big picture, starting with the end in mind, but not just waiting, hesitating, procrastinating, but actually dealing with us today, knowing that we're not going to go anywhere if we remain controlled by all the uncontrollables. What we want to do is take ownership where we can. We want to prepare what we can, and we want to lead today. And that's just going to snowball and force multiply beyond our wildest dreams. We're leading ourselves, we're leading others, we're leading through others. If this resonates with you, I want to strongly invite you into this email community. This is why I keep showing up day after day. It's because I want to send a call to action and send an invitation out to so many friends and leaders. Maybe we already know each other, we go back, maybe we're going to meet sometime in the future. But if you are going in the same direction, you want to lead yourself, lead others, and lead through others, you want to really leave a legacy that's worth following. You want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. You want to stay mission minded. You have a purpose. You know what's important. This is an awesome community that you can be a part of. I call it the Future Friends because you are staying focused on your future. You know your dreams, your goals, those God-given calling that's on your life. And you want to figure out, how do I actually put this into practice? What does this actually look like in a Monday or a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever scenario? And so Future Friends are jumping on here for daily motivation, ongoing preparation. Future Friends also get a weekly email that is really just a roundup of all of the coaching content, the blogs and the vlogs that are going out. And the Future Friends are getting the information about the coaching courses that are available in the near future. And I'm so excited. I'm working on 2 specific projects, but really they will grow as we go. And so I really want you to be in that email community. And to prove it, I want to say thank you and give you a gift in advance. This is a free PDF. I call it the Fail-Proof Planning Guide, because so many of us are kind of allergic to making commitments in 2021. And that's okay. It's understandable. After a year like 2020, you want to put everything on the calendar in pencil. That's if you want to keep a calendar at all. And what this is going to do is future-proof your planning. And what I have found is most people are putting way too much pressure on one plan that has to be like that perfect, plan. And there's no such thing as a perfect plan. I think it was Colin Powell who said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. And in other words, you can have the best ideas in the world, the best intentions in the world, but the moment you go into the real world, you're gonna see that you don't just rise to the occasion. You have to fall back on your preparation. And so that's what this is gonna do. It's gonna go at the root of what you want to accomplish. It's gonna help you work through a step-by-step proven planning process, so that way you can feel more agile, less fragile as you begin to navigate the unknowns. And again, not be controlled by the uncontrollables, but really take action when and where you can, which is more than enough to accomplish what you're going for. So this is going to help you with some high-level goal setting, and then it's going to begin to filter down into some daily rhythms and some lifestyle habits that can really help you feel the traction right away. So download that instantly. Just share your email and join the Future Friends community. With that, let's dive into the topic at hand, which is really tactics to lead yourself at home. If we're going to, really take the fight for the future, where do we take the fight if we want to win the future, if we want to see massive, measurable progress in our lives, as well as with our family, our friends, our communities, our teams? Where do we actually take the fight if we want to see wins in the future? And I believe you have to have a home field advantage. And so getting that home front figured out, really working on, the way you're going to lead yourself at home is just going to have an exponential boost. It's going to be rocket fuel to everything else you're doing. And people will look at you and they'll see measurable signs of growth. They'll see confidence, they'll see signs of competence, and they're going to realize that you're not just propped up by outside forces, but that you really have put a lot of the right elements in place for you to succeed and lead on a serial basis. So we're kind of going through a series right now, and today is all about staying organized at home. I think this quote sums it up the best. This is what is at stake. You cannot lead someone if you cannot organize your own life. Like, pretty plain, that's a bombshell of a statement, but we need to hear it, feel it, and own it. We cannot lead anyone else if we're unable or unwilling to organize our own lives. And most of the stuff we call leadership is really just, catering or coddling the direct report, the leader, the point person, because if they're not aware, they can become such a crazy maker on their own that they need, so much help just to stay afloat. And that's not the motive behind leadership. Leadership is servant leadership. It is all about saying, I'm good. Now let me focus on helping other people. And when you are organized, then you can better mobilize other people. But if you are not organized, you're going to become a bottleneck for your own progress, as well as the other people that you are, entrusted to lead, the other people that you are stewarding on your team. So this is really important. And we say, like, how does it happen? How do we get out of whack? How do we lose our mojo? Where did we go wrong? How did we get disorganized, through the process? Because we start with great ideas and great momentum, and then it just kind of trails off. And I think this quote really sums that up too. Clutter is the physical manifestation of unmade decisions fueled by procrastination. Man, that is a mouthful. It says a lot, but it really does make sense. All the clutter that's in our lives, whether it's a cluttered mind or a cluttered room, a cluttered desk, a cluttered, just conversation, without that clarity, that piercing focus, without that unstoppable sense of momentum, we will live cluttered. In fact, a little too cluttered for ourselves and other people. It's like, if you've ever seen the reality show, about hoarders, and to them, it's all normal. To them, there's no big deal, but it's actually pretty gross, and it's unlivable, and it's unsustainable. And so we don't want to fall into the trap of this kind of false narrative or this blind spot where we think that our lifestyle is sustainable, when really, if other people were to be honest and they were to speak in a kind and corrective way, they would say, it's a little too cluttered for me. I really can't keep up with what you're trying to do here. I really can't understand your processes here. And that becomes a deterrent, and that kind of becomes an exit sign for a lot of people. But think about it in the opposite sense now. Think about it in the positive sense now. If clutter is ultimately a combination of unmade decisions fueled by procrastination, then organization would be fueled by preparation. Organization would be fueled by the clarity, the internal clarity to make the right decisions, to make enough of those decisions quickly enough, accurately enough, so that way you can keep things moving and you're not having this buildup, but you're having this momentum to kind of break through. So if this is an exciting topic for you, put yes in the chat. You're like, man, This is going to help me. This is going to force multiply my own sense of momentum. This is going to help me get clear internally, stay organized personally. And then we're going to begin to multiply our influence and impact externally. Put yes in the chat if you're ready to join in this conversation. You're ready to learn what it looks like to stay organized at home. And I want to ask you this question as well. Where do you feel the most overwhelmed right now? It's a good question. Where do you feel the most overwhelmed right now? Because wherever you feel stressed, wherever you feel stuck, wherever you feel a struggle, I believe the answer, the response is to look for the right strategy. Because right now, there are people who have been to and through the very stress and struggle you went through. They've already passed through it. So you got to figure out, okay, what did they do? How did they figure that out? Because there are some indispensable principles that can be transferable to you and I. There are some wisdom steps, some keys that will work for us if we will put them to work. And that's, what I love about just having a community around you is that you don't have to figure all this stuff out by yourself. And you've got to identify where the overwhelm is so that way you can use this tactical approach and begin to organize your way through it. You can find a strategy, you can get organized, you can power through, you can feel the breakthrough, you can feel the momentum, and you don't have to stay stuck. So, maybe you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed at home in the kitchen. Maybe it's in the closet. Maybe it's the garage. Maybe it's your car. Maybe it's your computer and you got so many files. If you cannot find things, if you cannot respond quickly when a task comes up, an opportunity comes up, then you're lacking in that organization department, because organization gives you speed. Organization helps you keep things moving. And when you're organized, you can stay mobilized. So many good areas, that we can focus on. But I want to encourage you, if you feel overwhelmed, don't just stay there. Don't just sit there. Keep going, keep growing, and figure out, how would I organize myself in that area? So I've got a number of categories that we can tackle, but I want to just kind of go case study by case study and look at how would I actually get organized in that area. And one thing you need to realize is it's not just going to be a one and done thing. That's why I'm trying to get my notes here. That's why you are going to have to get the mindset and the skill sets to keep doing this again and again and again. And once you do it, it's like, it becomes secondhand. It becomes natural. It becomes easy. It feels more automatic because it's not something you're doing, consciously. It's not something you're putting all of your brain power into. This is something that has become a part of you. It's more habitual. And so therefore it's more accessible. So first thing I would say is like your backpack. That is one of those areas that just kind of becomes a sinkhole. And, if you're not careful, you'll just keep running, and you put more and more stuff in. And it's pretty amazing how much stuff can get lost in your backpack or your bag. And you think you have some sort of method to your madness, but if you're just doing this the whole time and you're reaching, and if you go 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strikes, you're out like that. You're not organized, even if you have a general sense that maybe that thing might be in your bag. So this is as simple as it gets. This is as simple as it needs to be. Literally today, get your backpack, get your bag, open it up, and literally take everything out of it. Take everything out of it, put it on the floor, put it on a table, and just get it out. Number one, you're going to begin to see what's really in there. And then once you can visualize what you're working with, then you will automatically go into a new mode. You'll start to organize it in a better way. And so literally break it down and then just put it back together a little bit better than before. It's that easy. Take everything out, look at it, and then you get to decide what happens next. You get to decide what you keep, what you transfer, what you trash. You get to decide at that point what needs to go back in your backpack. And what I have found is that we use, well, at least for me, I don't want to use my backpack as a permanent organization system. I don't want to use my backpack as like deep storage. That backpack needs to be active. It needs to be, built and rebuilt again and again. It needs to have something like a weekly rhythm where I'm not just, using it every week, but I'm actually organizing it every week. And when you do that, there's so many benefits to this simple process. Number one, it keeps the clutter down to a minimum. So things aren't building up over time. Now in your backpack, it doesn't get like too crazy. But if you take that thinking and you multiply it somewhere else, like, to your house or your car or to your company, then that clutter will literally overtake you. That clutter will eat you alive if you let it. And so you have to constantly be on the offense and be attacking that overwhelm, or really that sense of disorientation where you just don't even know what's in there anymore. If you get to that point where you don't remember, or you can't see, or you can't find what you're looking for, you need to get after it, because organization helps you take ownership. And then when you have that sense of ownership, then you'll do better at stewardship. And stewardship is how things grow. Stewardship is how things multiply. And I'm totally down for passive systems. I'm totally down for, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And hopefully we'll get to a metaphor of, permaculture for your life. But if you are not taking ownership, then you're really not in the right state of mind to have stewardship as well. So for the backpack, it is literally that simple. Open it up, take everything out, and then decide if it deserves the right to go back in. Now, what do you do with the rest? You can transfer it, you can trash it, but you have to decide. And what I have found is doing this more frequently helps me stay on top of things. Doing this more often helps me stay sharper and remember more quickly what is in the bag, what isn't in the bag, what I kept, what I transferred somewhere else. And then you can actually be building, your backpack, your bag, or whatever with different scenarios in mind. And that's really valuable as well. So this is just the beginning, just the kickoff, the tip of the iceberg. But this can now apply to a lot of things. You get everything out, and then you begin to piece it back together in a more intentional, and I would guess a more top-down way. And so let's say you're trying to organize your thoughts, and you feel like you're in this complexity. This situation in front of you is just beyond you. It's frustrating you. You're kind of emotionally compromised. You got to get paper or pen or something you can write on, and you have to brain drain and do the same steps, right? Get everything out, and then you'll begin to visualize what's actually there, and then you can better organize it on the finish line. So sometimes people say, well, I like clutter. I like things crazy. I like things everywhere. I like things happening. But here's the difference. There's a difference between being expressive and things being expired. If things are actively growing, thriving, living, being all around you, man, that's a value add. You're going to be lifted by that. You're going to be energized by that. That's going to be cool. I mean, I'm already alluding a little bit more to this permaculture style of organization. But if things have expired and you don't know it, if things are past due and you're not doing anything about it, if things have come and gone, papers, meeting notes, clothes, items, whatever, if it's expired and you haven't properly processed that, then you're allowing the clutter to start taking over, and you don't want to do that. So the next category would be the laptop, right? How do you keep your digital files, your folders organized? What would you do there? And simply put, I would have and this is very, very simple. This is a whole big conversation we can get into later. But for the sake of here and now, you've got to just take action. Like, don't overthink it. You just have to kick it in overdrive for a while, kind of beat back all of the crazies, in Clutterland, and all of those clutter creatures that are trying to eat you alive, and you've got to really confront it, get after it, do it one time really strong, create a precedent, and then build a process to keep it there. But for the laptop situation, if you're trying to build some organization there, you need to be thinking, and this is really your choice, this is like an ongoing debate, but you're going to have to, this is where I have landed on it. Organize things, number one, by years. Organize things by years. So when you're getting your folders and you're getting your stuff together, organize by years. You literally would have like a whole big section of your online life, and it's going to be put in a category 2021, 22, 23, and then within the year, that's kind of the bigger category, then you would have tiers, different tiers of your life or different areas of your life that you can begin to organize things. Now, I call it a debate because I would think some people would say, well, no, I do tiers first, life categories, and because it's easier for this and that. But regardless, do something. Get a plan. Remember that sentence at the beginning. Most clutter starts or shows up when we have unmade decisions. So if you're just vacillating, if you're just having more fun in theory land, and you just have fun debating, all these YouTubers that you have no relationship with, you have no connection with, and you're just going to have more fun kind of mentally debating them and going through all these philosophical gymnastics about the quote perfect way to organize things, then forgive me for saying it this way, but you're already a joke. Like, you need to just get organized and don't make excuses about it. Just get the results and keep moving, because again, this is more of a garden experience. This is more of you coming back again and again. It's not just like you do it one time and it's done. This has to be a commitment. It has to be a skill set. It has to be a practice. It has to be a lifestyle. And you're going to keep organizing again and again, because that's the byproduct of taking ownership of something. That's the byproduct of actually doing stewardship well. So for me, I organize things by years on that high level. And then when I get into those different areas or those different folders, then I can put things in tiers, all the different life aspects. And that's just an easy way to kind of sort and continue through it. Then there's the next area, which is the kitchen. How are you going to organize your kitchen? And what I would just say with that is, thankfully, I'm on a team now. So I have a home team, Sarah Joy and I, my wife. Um, we love living in this home, and we're having fun already kind of personalizing it and optimizing it as well. But what I would say about the kitchen is it's kind of on another level. It's kind of organization on a new league, simply because it can lean more high volume. It can lean more fast paced. In other words, it's not like my bookshelf behind me where I put the books and it's like a slower paced system. I take one book out maybe and I read it and it takes a few days or whatever, and then I can put it back and whatever. With the kitchen, you're cooking all the time, you're eating all the time, you're hosting friends all the time. So, man, there's a lot of moving parts in there. And I would think that means organization matters more there because it is a high volume, fast paced environment. So in that case, it's not just about the project, it's way more about the process. And so my encouragement to you is slow down just a little bit and look at what's going on in the kitchen. Look at what you have to work with. Look at, kind of your normal routine, and then say, how could I build a system that keeps working day in and day out? How do I play this game well? Because organization is not just where it goes. It's going to be how this system goes. See, organization is more about design thinking, and there is absolutely a design element to it. I think the finish line of any organizational system is that it is visually aesthetic. It's not just functional anymore. There's actually an element of aesthetic and even fashion to it, in a sense, that you look at the way you've laid out your desk. You look at the way you've arranged the car, the kitchen, the closets, the bags, and you appreciate it. Like you actually feel good about the work you did because you were working on your system, not just getting lost in your system. And that ability to kind of elevate your thinking and to supervise what's going on gives you the edge, so that way you can keep moving and not get short stopped or not get bottlenecked in the process. So with your kitchen and the way you're kind of organizing that, or even other high volume areas, getting an organizational system is going to be super important. We'll follow up with that at the end. The closets. What do you do with that? Here's just a simple hack, a simple reminder. Don't just put things down, put things away. Now, it sounds subtle, but it makes a big difference. When you show up after, a day, what's the first thing you want to do? Wherever you presently are, wherever you emotionally eject, wherever you call it quits. It might be at the front door. It might be on the couch. It might be somewhere else. That's where you normally shed whatever you did that day. And don't just put things down where you personally drop, but take that extra effort, take those extra few steps and actually put it away. If it needs to be cleaned, put it with the laundry stuff. If it doesn't need to be clean and you're cool with reusing it, maybe you're cool with putting the shoes back, well, then go put the shoes away. Don't just put them down, actually put them away, because everything needs a place. You have a home and your things need a home. That's not original. Somebody else said that, but it can be resaid, and it definitely applies here. Just another thing in the closet is I like to have a lot of hangers on hand because I want to use my system. And if there's some sort of breakdown in my system, like there's not a bin to put dirty stuff in, there's not hangers to put clean stuff on, well, then my system is breaking down and it's not keeping up with the pace of my life. The whole point of organization is to keep you moving. And instead, the clutter can crowd in and shut us down, shut down our thinking, shut down our living, shut down our leading. And so that's why we've got to stay organized so we can keep up with the pace of progress, but also accelerate it when we're in like a momentum cycle and we're like, man, this is an opportunity, let's crush it. If you don't have an organization system, then you're not even qualified to go to the next level. So think about these simple things that you can be doing at home to help you keep moving, because otherwise what's going to happen is you're going to be wasting your off time, your downtime, your rest time, your friends' time, your family time, because you've got so much homework to do, cleanup work to do, and then you're going to be emotionally zapped. And then whenever you're trying to do work, it's going to all be kind of like creeping in and seeping out, because all your focus and energy is kind of going all these different directions because you feel overwhelmed and you feel, kind of on edge by being in a disorderly environment. So just don't do that. Just have the tools you need to stay on top of things, and take a little bit of time up front to work on the system. Don't just say, where does this go? But ask, how will this go? How will this go? How will I, transfer things? What things should be trashed? And so on from there. The car, the quick thing I'll say there is your car is not your closet. Your car is not a permanent storage unit. It's like the backpack. You need to have a frequency, have a rhythm, have a routine of taking everything out and then dealing with everything piece by piece, putting it back together, making it, 1% better than last time. And going through that step of actually getting everything out and then dealing with it so that way you can keep moving, that is a healthy, helpful process to keep moving forward. Okay, what about your calendar? So many times we're trying to stay organized, not just in the physical stuff that we have, but also with the commitments we've made, the time we've made. And so it's really important that you would get everything out before it happens. Think ahead, think about the week, think about the month, get everything out, and then deal with it. So that way, when these invitations, these obligations are coming to you, you have somewhere to put them. And so many times we don't have that framework set up. And so when things are coming at us, we're kind of like, well, I don't really know what else I'm doing, so might as well say, okay. And if you're just saying, okay, all the time, then you're at risk of calendar clutter the same way you are at risk of stuffing your backpack or just throwing things, around your house, or not keeping up with dishes in the sink. It's much more about the system that's keeping you moving than it is about just doing it one time and thinking that that's going to last you for a really, really long time. Yes, we can batch things, but we have to build a system that can keep up with the pace of our life, the pace of our progress. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to drop just like a few more tactics for you. Maybe you feel overwhelmed right now. Maybe you've got some cleaning to do. Maybe there's just some clutter somewhere everywhere, and you're like, where do I begin? Just own the obvious things first, and then let the momentum kick in. And somehow it works every time. You literally are just detecting, scanning, surveying your house, and you find the one thing that just feels so obvious. Maybe it's trash. Trash is very obvious. You get the trash, no brainer, you know what to do. Most of the time, the things we're organizing are not hard physically, but we don't want to go to that next step and make the decision, right? Remember that quote, procrastination leads to unmade decisions. And then that becomes what we call clutter. So really what you're doing is you're going around the house and you kind of need the emotional stamina to make a lot of decisions. And whenever we feel decision fatigue, we feel overwhelmed, we feel overloaded, man, we don't want to deal with that stuff. We don't want to make the decision. We don't want to follow through with the decision. And so we leave it there in the meantime, but then we hit snooze on that stuff too many times. And then what happens is we become accustomed to it. It blends in with the furniture. And now we think that something which is not normal is now normal. And then the clutter feels like it's a part of us. And then when someone comes in who's nice, who wants to help us clean up our act, clean up our life, move forward, deal with the clutter, we say, no, how dare you? That's a part of me. And then we get this like weird sentimental thing with all this clutter because we weren't willing to simply make a decision about it up front. So I'm serious, if you will just go through these simple steps, start with the obvious, identify, decide, and then get it done, then you will build a momentum that makes you unstoppable. Let me see what else I can share with you. Definitely work on the systems that are doing the work for you. Work on the systems just as much as you're doing the work as well. Organize helps you stay mobilized, but even as a leader, as a team builder, you've got to be organized for your team, because wherever you are not organized, your team is not mobilized. Whatever decisions you are avoiding, whatever issues you feel allergic to, I promise you that is where there is going to be such a invasion of the clutter creatures, of the unknowns that are just going to come swarming in that area because you were unwilling to deal with it. And man, that could go into a whole conversation on its own. But I want you to realize and remember that organizing is a skill set, but clarity is a mindset. And so get this mindset and make a new standard for yourself. I live in an organized environment. My thoughts are organized. My priorities organized. My money is organized. My relationships are well organized. When everything I own has a purpose, it has a place, and it has a process. And so you're just little by little building these decisions that are worth repeating. You're making these systems that help you keep moving. And I've got a list here that I want to keep going to. One of my favorite hacks that I pass on, this is a tactic, something I'm practicing on a daily basis. I call it reset to ready. And it started with the end of the day. Before I started to bed down, I wanted to kind of pick up around myself, organize things, and even think about what I would need to have ready for tomorrow. So maybe it's meal prepping your breakfast for the next day. Maybe it's actually putting together your backpack before you rush out the door. Maybe it's drafting out some of those emails before they hit send, before you even need to do it. Whatever you can do today that will set you up for tomorrow is putting you in the right direction. And so reset to ready started just at the end of the day, but I've since kind of fallen in love with the idea in general. And so now I try to reset to ready after every time block that I go through. So when I'm finished with this project, I want to reset everything here in this workspace on my laptop, so that way I'm ready for the next time. When I park my car, I want it to be ready for the next road trip. Whenever I come home from a vacation, I want to unload that suitcase as soon as possible do it immediately, so that way I'm ready for the next trip. I'm ready for the next round. That's more of a mindset that can then be, personalized, customized into different scenarios. So take that for whatever it's worth. Deal with things immediately. Organize with the end in mind. Organize things visually. Make things visual. In other words, it's good. There's basically 3 parts of this organizing approach. First, you have to identify friction. Man, what is slowing down your progress? What's slowing down your day? What's taking up your emotional space? What's taking up your time? What's taking up space? And once you identify friction, then you get to work on it. You build that system, you make it better. Maybe, again, you have to take everything out, put everything out on the table, put everything out on paper. You kind of see it, you visualize it, you work on it. Now you're building it from a functional standpoint. You say, how is it really supposed to function? What would actually be better? How could I improve this? And then when you understand the function, I think you're not done with function. I think a lot of people, they just say, does it work? But really, if you want to keep things going, function isn't the end of the road. I think, at least in this simple, trio, that fashion, and I use that word a little more loosely, but does it look visually appealing, right? I'm going back to that idea of an aesthetic, of a lifestyle. Like, do you have a style to the way you're doing life? And when you do, that's something that you're going to keep up with. When Sarah Joy and I first got married and we were coming back from our honeymoon, man, everything was, picture worthy. I mean, we were making memories, we were making moments with everything. And, a lot of our generation do this anyways. Maybe you're in this category too, where you just take pictures of everything. You take pictures of food, you take pictures of random destinations, places you're at. I love taking pictures. I love making moments. We'll do that with your organization systems too. In other words, like, it's not just that it's your desk. It's like a statement. Like, make it art, make it food art, make it, bedroom art, where you don't just want to, pick up your your socks and your pants. You want to make the bed in a way where you could have an open house. You could live transparently. You could live authentically. You wouldn't be embarrassed if somebody came in accidentally or unannounced. And do that in each and every area of your life and say, is this presentable? And what am I presenting? And what am I representing about myself? And what does this say about the style of life that I'm doing here and the style of work that I'm doing here? And I don't know, it's kind of like the bonus level. It's the bonus level for organization, that at the end of it, you step back and you see something that is visually satisfying. It's labeled, it's organized, it's minimal, it's functional, it's renewable. There's a system here. There's thought, there's intentionality, there's creativity that kind of went into all of this. And you step back and you're like, wow, I see how this can look. I see what this was about. I put a lot into that. I've been wanting to say that for a while about, just having that personal aesthetic and having more of a creative edge to the way you're living and leading around the house. And I think that is it for now. So, guys, get organized, stay organized, and help other people be mobilized. If this helped you, go ahead and tell someone about it, share the links, and let's help each other move towards our future. And I want to remind you, there is a free fail-proof planning guide that is waiting on you. And email it, get on the email list, download it instantly, and get going. and join the Future Friends email community. Thank you guys so much for being on this journey. We will be back tomorrow with another round. I'm going to be giving you tactics to help yourself, lead yourself at home. If you want to know what the topic is, just lean in because it'll be coming at you in a few hours. Remember, you're going places, so you better prepare to go there. I'll see you tomorrow.